They burned my wheelchair. My sister watched me fall." Those were the first words Valentina Cross whispered when she woke up in that hospital bed. But 12 hours earlier, she was nothing but broken bones in a ditch, and Chase Hale was the man who refused to let her die alone in the fog. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. This story will shake you. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from, so I can see how far this journey travels. Now let's go back to where it all started. I thought it was a pile of clothes until I saw the blood. Chase Hale would say that sentence 47 times over the next 3 days. To paramedics, to police officers, to social workers who asked why a man with nothing gave everything to save a stranger. But on that October morning at 4:47 a.m., walking County Road 47 in the pitch-black fog, he wasn't thinking about heroism or fate or any of that. He was thinking about the $17 in his pocket and whether Mrs. Patterson would pay him in cash today for fixing her porch steps because Belle needed new shoes and the electricity bill was due Thursday. His boots hit gravel in a rhythm he'd memorized over 3 months of walking this road before dawn. No car, repoed in July, no phone. Canceled the plan in August. Just him in the dark and the 3-mile walk to the Patterson farm where he'd spend 8 hours replacing rotted wood for $60 and hopefully lunch. The fog was thick that morning. The kind that makes you feel like you're walking through wet cotton. Chase kept his head down and his hands in his jacket pockets and counted his steps because counting kept his mind off everything else. 1,043. 1,044. 1,045. That's when he saw it. A dark mass in the drainage ditch 20 feet ahead. His first thought was deer. His second thought was garbage bags. His third thought stopped him cold because the mass moved. Not much, just a twitch, a shift of fabric, but enough. Chase's heart kicked hard against his ribs. He stepped off the road and down into the ditch, his boots sinking into mud and dead leaves. The smell hit him first. Blood, sharp and metallic. Then he saw her face. Oh God. She was a woman. Maybe 30, maybe younger. It was hard to tell through the swelling and bruises. Her face was purple and black on one side. Her lip split open. One eye swollen completely shut. The other eye barely open, glassy, unfocused. Her clothes were torn. Expensive clothes. A blouse that might have been white once. Slacks that were caked with mud and blood. And her legs. Her legs were wrong. Bent at angles that made Chase's stomach turn. One twisted underneath her. The other splayed out the knee facing the wrong direction. "Hey." His voice cracked. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her good eye rolled toward him. Her lips moved but no sound came out. Chase dropped to his knees beside her. His hands shook as he pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Pulse. Faint. Too faint. Her breathing was shallow and wet-sounding. Blood bubbled at the corner of her mouth. Okay, you're okay. I've got you." He didn't have a phone. He didn't have a car. The nearest house was Old Man Garrett's place 2 miles back the way he came. The Patterson farm was a mile ahead. Either way, she'd be dead before he made it. Chase looked down at her broken body. Looked up at the empty road disappearing into fog. Looked back at her face. Her eye found his. Locked on. Pleading. "You're not dying out here." He said it out loud. To her. To himself. To whatever God might be listening. Not today. He slid his arms under her as carefully as he could. She made a sound. A whimper. High and thin and full of agony. Her body was dead weight. Limp. He lifted her and she screamed. A raw, broken sound that tore through the fog like a knife. I know it hurts. I'm sorry." He stood. His legs almost gave out. She couldn't have weighed more than 120 pounds, but it felt like lifting concrete. He adjusted his grip, got her head against his chest. Her blood soaked into his jacket immediately. "Stay with me." He started walking, fast as he could without jarring her too much. Back toward the road. "Talk to me. Can you talk?" Nothing, just that wet, rattling breath. My name's Chase. Chase Hale. I'm gonna get you help. You're gonna be fine. Lies. All lies. He had no idea if she'd be fine. He had no idea if she'd survive the next 10 minutes. But he kept talking because the alternative was silence, and silence felt like giving up. He made it back to the road, turned toward the Patterson farm, one foot in front of the other. His arms burned. His back screamed. The woman's head lolled against his chest. Her breath came in short, desperate gasps. That's it. Keep breathing. Just keep breathing. 100 yards. 200. His vision started to blur. Sweat poured down his face despite the cold. The woman made another sound. Not a scream this time. Softer. Almost like she was trying to say something. What is it? Her lips moved against his jacket. He couldn't hear. He shifted her weight, brought his ear closer to her mouth. Wheelchair. What about a wheelchair? Burned. She burned. Then she went limp. No, 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 stay with me. Chase broke into a stumbling run. The world tilted. His foot caught on something and he almost went down, but he caught himself, held her tighter. Come on, don't you quit on me. Headlights. Two of them cutting through the fog from behind. Chase spun around, waving one arm while cradling the woman with the other. The truck slowed, stopped. A man leaned out the window. Chuck Brennan. Ran the feed store in town. Chase, what in the hell? Hospital? Now. She's dying. Chuck's eyes went wide. He threw open the passenger door. Get in. Chase climbed into the cab as carefully as he could. The woman's head fell back. Her mouth opened. No breath. No movement. Drive. Drive. Chuck floored it. The truck fishtailed on the gravel, then caught traction and roared forward. Chase pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck. Nothing. He tilted her head back, pinched her nose, breathed into her mouth. Once, twice. Her chest rose and fell with his breath, but didn't move on its own. Come on. He breathed again. Again. Don't you dare. A gasp. Wet and choking. Her body convulsed. She coughed and blood sprayed across Chase's jacket. But she was breathing. Shallow. Weak. But breathing. That's it. That's it. Chuck was talking on his cell phone, giving directions to the hospital, talking to dispatch. Chase didn't listen. He just held the woman and kept checking her pulse and whispered every prayer he'd ever learned as a kid in Sunday school, and a few he made up on the spot. The hospital appeared through the fog like a miracle. Chuck didn't bother with the parking lot. He drove straight to the ER entrance. Nurses and doctors poured out before the truck even stopped. They lifted the woman onto a gurney, started yelling medical terms Chase didn't understand. Someone tried to pull him back, but he followed them inside his boots, leaving muddy, bloody prints on the white tile floor. Sir, you can't. I'm staying. A doctor grabbed his arm. Young guy, Indian. Name tag said Dr. Patel. Did you see what happened to her? Found her in a ditch on County Road 47. She wasn't breathing a minute ago. Her legs are broken. Maybe her back too. I don't know. I just don't know. Dr. Patel nodded once, then turned and ran after the gurney. Chase stood in the middle of the ER entrance covered in blood and mud and sweat shaking so hard his teeth chattered. A nurse appeared at his elbow. Older woman, kind eyes. Come with me, honey. Let's get you cleaned up. I need to call someone. About my daughter. I was supposed to be at work, but we'll make the calls. Come on. She led him to a small room with plastic chairs and fluorescent lights and a coffee machine that looked like it hadn't been cleaned since 1987. She brought him a blanket and a cup of terrible coffee and a clipboard with forms he couldn't focus on. His hands still shook too much to hold the pen. What's your daughter's name? The nurse asked. Belle. She's 6. She's at Mrs. Chen's place, 2 blocks from Riverside Elementary. I need to let them know I'm going to be late picking her up. I'll call them. You just sit tight." She left. Chase sat, the blanket around his shoulders, the coffee getting cold in his hands, the blood on his jacket turning from red to brown. He thought about the woman's face, the way her eye had locked onto his, the way she'd tried to talk. Wheelchair. Burned. She burned. What did that mean? An hour passed. Maybe two. Chase lost track. He dozed off once and jerked awake thinking he'd dropped her. But his arms were empty. The room was empty except for him and the hum of the vending machine in the corner. Dr. Patel came in around 9 a.m. He looked exhausted. His scrubs had blood on them. Different blood. Fresher. "She's alive." Chase stood up so fast the chair scraped across the floor. "She's gonna make it. She's critical but stable. Multiple fractures in both legs. 3 broken ribs. Collapsed lung. Severe head trauma. And..." He paused. His face went carefully neutral. "She has a complete spinal cord injury at T6. She's paralyzed from the waist down." The words hit like a fist. Chase sat back down. "Was it the fall?" he asked. "Or something else?" "Something else. The injuries are consistent with a severe beating. Someone did this to her. Deliberately." Chase's stomach turned. "Who would?" "We don't know. She's not conscious yet. No ID on her. No phone. Nothing. We're running prints, but that takes time." "She tried to talk. In the truck. Said something about a wheelchair being burned." Dr. Patel frowned. "Burned. And someone named She. That's all I got. I'll let the police know. They'll want to talk to you." I figured. Dr. Patel started to leave, then stopped. Turned back. "What you did this morning, carrying her all that way, you saved her life. I want you to know that." Chase didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a guy who happened to be walking down the right road at the right time. Or maybe the wrong road at the wrong time, depending on how you looked at it. "Can I see her?" "Not yet. Maybe this afternoon. We'll call you." After the doctor left, Chase sat there for another 20 minutes before forcing himself to stand. He needed to get to Belle. Needed to figure out what to tell Mrs. Patterson about missing work. Needed to wash this woman's blood off his hands. But he didn't move. He just stood there in that horrible little waiting room with the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead and thought about those broken legs and that whispered word. Wheelchair. The police came at noon. 2 detectives, Thompson and Ruiz. They asked him the same questions 4 different ways. "Where exactly did you find her? What time did you see anyone else? Any vehicles? Hear anything? See anything unusual?" No. 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 They took his bloody jacket as evidence, gave him a card with a case number, told him they'd be in touch. Standard procedure. Nothing to worry about. Just routine. Chase didn't believe that for a second. He called Mrs. Chen and explained he'd be another few hours. She said Belle was fine, helping make cookies. No rush. Chase hung up and realized he had nowhere to go and nothing to do but wait. He fell asleep in the plastic chair and dreamed of fog and blood and broken legs and a woman's voice whispering words he couldn't quite hear. A hand shook his shoulder. He jerked awake. A different nurse stood over him, younger, tired-looking. "Mr. Hale. She's awake. She's asking for you." Chase blinked. "Me? She doesn't even know me." "She said the man who carried me. That's you, right?" He stood, followed her through a maze of hallways to the ICU. The woman was in a private room at the end. Machines beeped. IV lines snaked from her arms. Her face was even more swollen than before. Both eyes black now. Bandages wrapped around her head. A ventilator tube down her throat. "She can't talk yet," the nurse said. "But she's alert. The doctor wanted you to know." Chase approached the bed slowly. The woman's eyes tracked him. The same eye from before. The one that had found his in the ditch. It found him again now. He didn't know what to say. What do you say to someone whose life you saved but whose legs you couldn't fix? Hey, he managed. You're alive. That's something. Her hand moved, weak, trembling, reaching for something. Chase looked at the nurse. Can I? Go ahead. He took the woman's hand. Her fingers closed around his with surprising strength. She tried to squeeze. 3 times. Deliberate. Thank you. Chase squeezed back. Her eye closed, opened again, filled with tears that spilled down her bruised cheeks. Her hand squeezed again. Different pattern this time. Desperate. Urgent. What is it? She pulled at him, weak but insistent. He leaned closer. She moved her lips around the ventilator tube. No sound, but he could read the shape. Help me. I will, Chase said. I promise. Her eye closed again. This time, it stayed closed. The machines kept beeping their steady rhythm. The nurse touched Chase's shoulder. She needs rest. You should go home. Home. Right. The word felt foreign. Chase gently placed the woman's hand back on the bed, started to turn away, then stopped. What happens to her? He asked. After she recovers. If she recovers. The nurse's expression softened. That depends on a lot of things. Family, insurance, rehabilitation. It's a long road. And if she doesn't have any of that? The nurse didn't answer. She didn't have to. Chase looked back at the woman in the bed. Broken. Paralyzed. Alone. He thought about Belle and their crumbling farmhouse and the $17 still in his pocket, and the fact that he'd just lost a day's work and would probably lose his only steady job because Mrs. Patterson didn't wait for excuses. He thought about all the reasons he should walk away, all the reasons this wasn't his problem. Then he thought about fog and blood and the way her eye had locked onto his and begged him not to let her die. I'll be back tomorrow, he said. The nurse nodded like she'd expected nothing less. Chase left the hospital and walked 3 miles to Mrs. Chen's place. Belle ran out the door and wrapped her arms around his legs and asked why he was wearing a different jacket. He told her he'd had an accident, but everyone was okay and he'd explain later. They walked home together in the afternoon sun. Belle chattered about cookies and a stray cat she'd seen and whether they could get a kitten for Christmas. Chase held her hand and made appropriate sounds and tried not to think about the woman in the hospital bed or the word she'd mouthed or the promise he'd made without thinking. But that night after Belle went to sleep, Chase sat on their sagging porch and looked out at the dark fields and knew his life had just changed in ways he couldn't yet understand. Somewhere in town, in a hospital room full of machines and silence, a woman lay paralyzed and broken, and somewhere else in the fog and shadows whoever had done this to her was still out there. Chase didn't know her name yet, didn't know her story, didn't know why someone had beaten her and left her to die in a ditch on County Road 47. But he'd made her a promise. And Chase Hale had lost a lot of things in his 34 years. His wife, his career, his home, his dignity. But he'd never lost his word. Not yet, not today. The hospital called at 6 the next morning. Chase was already awake, staring at the ceiling and thinking about that squeeze pattern. Help me. He answered on the second ring. Mr. Hale. This is Dr. Patel. She's awake and coherent. The ventilator is out. She can talk now. And Mr. Hale. She's been asking for you specifically every 20 minutes since midnight. Chase looked over at Belle's bed in the corner of their single bedroom. Still asleep, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. I'll be there in an hour. There's something else you should know. We identified her through facial recognition. The police are on their way. This is bigger than we thought. Chase's stomach dropped. How much bigger? Dr. Patel's voice lowered. Just get here. She needs to tell you herself. Chase dressed quietly and left a note for Belle with Mrs. Chen's phone number. The walk to the hospital took 45 minutes at a fast pace. His boots hit pavement in rhythm with his racing thoughts. Who was she? What had she done to deserve that beating? And why did she keep asking for him, a stranger who just happened to find her? The ICU was different in daylight. Brighter, more sterile. A uniformed officer stood outside her room. He checked Chase's ID against a list, then stepped aside without a word. She was sitting up when Chase entered, barely, propped against pillows with her head wrapped in fresh bandages. Both eyes were open now, though the swelling made them into slits. Purple bruises covered every visible inch of skin. The blanket lay flat where her legs should have made a shape. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Recognition, not of faces, but of something deeper. Survivor to survivor. "You came back." Her voice was raw, damaged, like she'd been screaming. "Said I would." "People say a lot of things." She tried to shift position and winced. Pain flickered across her face, but she swallowed it down. "Sit, please, before my neck gives out from looking up." Chase pulled a chair close to the bed. Up close, he could see the rope burns around her wrists, the defensive wounds on her palms. This hadn't been quick. She'd fought. "They told me what you did," she said. 3 miles, in the fog, with a stranger bleeding all over you. It wasn't 3 miles, more like 1. Dr. Patel said your back was spasming so bad they almost admitted you too. Don't downplay it. Chase shrugged. You were dying. Most people would have called someone and waited. Didn't have a phone. Most people would have flagged down a car. There wasn't traffic at 4 in the morning on County Road 47. She studied him with those swollen eyes, and something like amusement touched her split lips. You're not going to make this easy, are you? Make what easy? Letting me thank you properly. You squeezed my hand yesterday. That was plenty. She was quiet for a moment. Her fingers picked at the blanket edge. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Harder. They burned my wheelchair. Did I tell you that? In the fog, I mean. You said something about it. About someone burning something. My sister. My stepsister, technically. Simone. She said the name like it tasted rotten. I was in my chair. Custom made. Carbon fiber. Cost more than most people's cars. She and 2 men pulled me out of it and threw it in a burn barrel while I watched. Then they worked me over with pipes and fists until I couldn't feel my legs anymore. Until I couldn't feel anything. Chase's hands clenched on his knees. Why? Money. Power. Take your pick. I made the mistake of being born into a family that views love as weakness and trust as stupidity. She took a shaky breath. My name is Valentina Cross. Does that mean anything to you? Chase shook his head. Good. That's refreshing. She almost smiled. Cross Technologies. We make software for autonomous vehicles and medical AI. Worth about $4 billion on paper. I'm the CEO. Or I was. Hard to run a company from a hospital bed when your own board of directors tried to kill you. The words hung in the air between them. Chase's mind struggled to process. $4 billion. CEO. Board of directors. This broken woman in front of him wasn't just someone. She was someone who made the kind of enemies that left you paralyzed in a ditch. Your sister did this for your company. My stepsister. And yes, her and her husband Marcus, who sits on my board. And my CFO David, who I've known since college. And probably 6 other people I trusted with my life and my business. Her voice cracked. They held a vote while I was missing, declared me mentally incompetent. Simone's already positioning herself as interim CEO. By next week, I'll be erased. The police will do exactly what they're paid to do. Take statements, file reports, maybe make an arrest if the evidence is overwhelming. But Simone's smart. She has lawyers, alibis, and I guarantee you those 2 men who actually put their hands on me are already at the bottom of Lake Michigan. Chase leaned back in his chair. So what do you do? Valentina's eyes locked onto his. I need to disappear for a while. Heal. Regroup. Figure out who I can trust. The police want to move me to a secure facility, but facilities have staff, and staff can be bought. I need somewhere no one would think to look. Like where? Like a falling down farmhouse on County Road 47, owned by a single father with a 6-year-old daughter who makes $17 a day doing repair work. Chase stood up so fast the chair scraped. How do you know that? I had someone look into you. The man who saved my life. I needed to know if you were real or just another plant from Simone. She held up a hand. You're real. Painfully, devastatingly real. Lost your wife 3 years ago to cancer. Lost your engineering job 6 months later when you couldn't afford childcare and missed too many days. Lost your house to foreclosure last year. You're hanging on by your fingernails, and you still carried a dying stranger through the fog because that's who you are. Chase's face burned. Having his failure laid out so clinically made his chest tight. You had no right. I had every right. You know what I am now. I needed to know what you are. Her voice softened. And what you are is exactly what I need. Someone with nothing to lose who still chooses to do the right thing. I have a daughter. I know. That's why I trust you. A man who fights that hard to keep his daughter safe and fed and sheltered is a man who understands what's at stake. She paused. I'll pay you. Not charity. Employment. $50,000 up front. Another $50 when I'm mobile enough to handle my own security. The number hit Chase like cold water. $50,000. That was 2 years of scraping by. That was Belle's shoes and the electric bill and the mortgage he'd lost and maybe even a decent Christmas. To do what exactly? Keep me alive. That's it. I'm paralyzed from the waist down and covered in bruises. I'm not going anywhere fast. I just need a safe place to heal and someone I can trust to watch my back while I figure out how to take my life back from the people who stole it. Your life? You're talking about a corporate empire. I fix porch steps. My life, Valentina repeated. The company is my life. I built it from nothing while my father was dying, and Simone was off spending his money on yachts and cocaine. I earned every inch of that empire, and I'm not letting her take it because she got impatient waiting for me to die naturally. A knock on the door interrupted them. Detective Thompson poked his head in. Ms. Cross, we need your statement. Give me 10 minutes. Ma'am, we've been waiting since... 10 minutes, detective. Or I call my lawyer and you get nothing. Her voice had changed again. Cold. Commanding. The voice of someone used to being obeyed. Thompson's jaw tightened, but he backed out and closed the door. Valentina turned back to Chase. I don't have time for you to agonize over this. Yes or no? Will you help me? Chase thought about Belle and their empty refrigerator and the $50 he owed Mrs. Chen for watching Belle this week. He thought about the way Valentina had looked in that ditch, broken and helpless and abandoned. He thought about the squeeze pattern on his hand. Help me. My farmhouse doesn't have wheelchair access. So build it. Use the $50,000. Belle's 6. She asks a lot of questions. Kids are honest. I'll take honest over fake sympathy any day. If these people are as dangerous as you say, you'd be putting us at risk. Valentina met his eyes. Yes, I would. And if you say no, I'll understand, and you'll never hear from me again. But Chase. She said his name like she'd known him for years instead of hours. If you say yes, I promise you this. When I take back what's mine, I won't forget who stood with me when I had nothing. Not charity. Partnership. The word hung between them. Partnership. Like they were equals. Like a man who'd lost everything, and a woman worth billions could actually build something together. Chase ran a hand through his hair. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was absolutely the worst idea he'd ever considered. 1 month? He heard himself say. You stay 1 month. After that, we reassess. Valentina's shoulders sagged with relief. 1 month. Deal. And I'm calling Dr. Patel. If he says this is medically stupid, the deal's off. Done. Anything else? Yeah. You meet Belle before you move in. If she's uncomfortable, we find another solution. For the first time since he'd entered the room, Valentina smiled. A real smile despite the split lip and swollen face. You're a good father. I try. Detective Thompson knocked again, harder this time. Valentina's smile vanished. Send him in. And Chase. Thank you. For everything. Chase nodded and stood. He was halfway to the door when Valentina spoke again. They're going to ask you questions too. About finding me. About this conversation. Don't lie for me. Tell them exactly what happened. The truth is, the only weapon I have right now. What are you going to tell them? Everything. Names, dates, bank accounts. By noon, Simone will know I'm alive and talking. By tonight, she'll know I survived. Valentina's eyes went hard. And by tomorrow, she'll know I'm coming for her. Chase left and found Thompson and Ruiz waiting in the hallway with notepads and recording devices. They interviewed him for 2 hours. Every detail, every word, every moment from finding her in the ditch to the conversation they'd just had. Chase told them everything except the deal. That was private. That was between him and a woman who'd looked at his life's wreckage and called him exactly what she needed. By the time they finished, it was noon. Chase called Mrs. Chen and said he'd be late again. She said Belle was fine. Making friendship bracelets. Take your time. Dr. Patel found him in the cafeteria drinking terrible coffee and staring at nothing. She told you everything, the doctor said. It wasn't a question. Most of it, I think. And you agreed to help her. Chase looked up. She tell you that too? She asked me if I thought she could survive at your place medically. I said yes, if we set up proper equipment and home care. Then she asked me what I thought of you. Dr. Patel sat down across from Chase. I said I thought you were either the bravest man I'd ever met or the most foolish, maybe both. Which do you think it is? I think it's brave to care about people who can't do anything for you. And I think it's foolish to invite that much danger into your daughter's life. He paused. But I also think Valentina Cross is the kind of person who inspires that particular brand of brave foolishness in people. She did it to me too. How? I told her I'd set up the home care myself, off the books, no trail, no records, just me and a nurse I trust making house calls. Dr. Patel smiled ruefully. My wife thinks I've lost my mind. Maybe we both have. Maybe. Or maybe some people are worth the risk. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Chase asked the question that had been eating at him since that morning. Will she walk again? Dr. Patel's expression shifted, became carefully neutral in that way doctors have when the news is bad. The spinal cord injury is complete. That means there's no sensation or movement below the injury site. Could that change? With therapy and time. Maybe. 5% chance. Maybe less. And she knows this. She knows. She also knows that 5% is better than the 0% chance she had in that ditch. He stood. I'll start arranging the equipment. Hospital bed, wheelchair, shower chair. You'll need to modify your house. Ramps, grab bars, wider doorways. The $50,000 will cover it. That and then some. I'll send you contractor recommendations, people who can work fast and keep their mouths shut. After Dr. Patel left, Chase sat alone in the cafeteria and let the reality sink in. In 48 hours, his life had gone from barely surviving to actively dangerous. He was going to bring home a paralyzed woman worth billions who was being hunted by her own family. He was going to turn his farmhouse into a fortress. He was going to explain all of this to his 6-year-old daughter somehow. His phone rang. Mrs. Chen. Chase Honeybell's asking when you're coming. I told her you're helping someone, but she's getting worried. Tell her I'll be there in an hour. And Mrs. Chen. Can I bring someone to meet her tomorrow? Of course. Who? Someone who needs help. I'll explain everything later. He walked back to the ICU. Valentina was alone now, staring at the ceiling with tears streaming down her bruised face. She didn't wipe them away, just let them fall. Chase knocked softly. She turned her head. "Belle wants to meet you tomorrow. That okay?" Valentina wiped her eyes quickly. "Tomorrow's perfect." "Dr. Patel says you'll need equipment. I'll start making calls today." "Chase." She stopped him as he turned to leave. "Why are you doing this? Really?" He thought about that question. About the real answer underneath all the practical reasons and the money and the logic. "You asked for help," he said finally. "I've been where you are, not paralyzed, not hunted, but broken, abandoned, left for dead in a different kind of ditch. And nobody came, nobody carried me. I had to crawl out on my own." He met her eyes. "I guess I don't want that for anyone else if I can help it." Valentina nodded slowly. "Thank you for being honest. That's all I've got left. Honesty and stubbornness. Then we're well matched, because that's all I have left too." Chase left the hospital and walked home in the afternoon heat. His mind spun with logistics and danger and the overwhelming sense that he'd just stepped off a cliff. But underneath all that was something else. Something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Purpose. Belle was waiting on Mrs. Chen's porch when he arrived. She ran down the steps and threw herself at him. "Daddy, Mrs. Chen said you're helping someone special." Chase knelt down and looked at his daughter's face. So young, so trusting. "I am baby. Her name is Valentina. She got hurt really bad, and she needs a safe place to stay for a little while. Like when Mittens stayed with us after the storm." Chase almost laughed. Leave it to Belle to compare a paralyzed CEO to the stray cat they'd sheltered last spring. Kind of like that. But Valentina's a person, and she's in a wheelchair because her legs don't work right now. Belle's eyes went wide. "Forever?" "Maybe. We don't know yet." "That's sad." "It is. That's why we're going to help her." "But Belle..." He took her small hands in his. "Some bad people hurt Valentina, and they might try to find her. So if anyone comes around asking questions about who's staying with us, you don't tell them anything. You come get me right away. Understand?" Belle nodded seriously. "Like stranger danger." "Exactly like stranger danger." "Okay, Daddy, I can keep a secret." She paused. "Is Valentina nice?" "I think so. You'll meet her tomorrow and you can decide for yourself." That night after Belle fell asleep, Chase sat at their kitchen table with a notebook and started making lists. Contractors, equipment, supplies, security. The $50,000 Valentina had promised would cover most of it, but not all. He'd still need to work, still need to keep some income flowing. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Mr. Hale. This is Sarah Kim. I'm Ms. Cross's attorney. She asked me to wire the first payment to your account. I'll need your banking information." Chase gave her the details, and 20 minutes later his phone buzzed again. A notification from his bank. Deposit $50,000. He stared at the screen for a full minute. More money than he'd seen in 3 years. Real, actual, life-changing money. And all he had to do was keep one woman alive for 1 month. Chase looked around his kitchen at the peeling paint and the leaking ceiling and the refrigerator that hummed too loud because the compressor was dying. Looked at Belle's drawing on the refrigerator. A stick figure family. Daddy and Belle, and a cat that looked more like a blob. Maybe there'd be room for one more figure soon. Maybe not forever. But for now, for 1 month. Chase picked up his phone and started calling contractors. Time to build some ramps and change some lives. Tomorrow Valentina Cross would meet Belle. And if his daughter gave her blessing, this crazy impossible plan would actually happen. Chase fell asleep at the kitchen table with his head on his notebook and dreamed of fog and blood and broken legs that might never heal, but maybe, just maybe, didn't have to define the person attached to them. Belle insisted on wearing her Sunday dress to meet Valentina. The blue one with yellow flowers that she'd outgrown 6 months ago, but refused to let Chase donate because it had been her mother's favorite. The hem hid above her knees now, and the sleeves were too short, but Belle stood in front of their cracked bathroom mirror and declared herself ready. "Do I look nice, Daddy?" Chase knelt beside her and fixed the crooked bow in her hair. "You look perfect, baby." "Will Valentina like me?" The question hit harder than it should have. Chase pulled Belle into a hug. "She's going to love you. How could she not?" They took the bus to the hospital because Chuck Brennan was using his truck for deliveries and walking would have taken too long. Belle pressed her face against the window and counted red cars the whole way. 23. A new record. Dr. Patel met them at the ICU entrance. He'd traded his blood-stained scrubs for clean ones and actually smiled when he saw Belle. "You must be the famous Belle. Cross has been asking about you all morning." Belle hid behind Chase's leg. "Is she scary?" "Not even a little bit. Come on, I'll introduce you." The uniformed officer was gone from Valentina's door. In his place stood a man in an expensive suit with an earpiece and the kind of alert stillness that screamed private security. He nodded at Dr. Patel and stepped aside. Valentina was sitting up straighter today. Someone had brushed her hair, and the worst of the facial swelling had gone down enough that Chase could see what she actually looked like under the bruises. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, dark eyes that tracked them as they entered, eyes that went soft when they landed on Belle. "You must be Belle." Belle peeked out from behind Chase's leg. "You're in a wheelchair." "Belle," Chase said quietly. "No, it's fine." Valentina wheeled herself closer. The hospital chair was clunky and institutional, but she moved it with surprising grace. "I am in a wheelchair. My legs don't work right now. Does that bother you?" Belle thought about this seriously. "My friend Emma wears glasses. She says her eyes don't work right without them." "Is it like that?" Valentina's lips curved into something almost like a smile. "Exactly like that, except wheelchairs are much cooler than glasses." "Can I touch it?" "Belle." Chase's face burned, but Valentina laughed. Actually laughed. A real sound that seemed to surprise her as much as it surprised Chase. "You can absolutely touch it. Come here." Belle emerged from behind Chase's leg and approached the wheelchair with the careful curiosity of a 6-year-old examining something new. She ran her fingers over the armrest, the wheel, the footrest where Valentina's legs rested at wrong angles under a blanket. "Why don't your legs work?" "Some bad people hurt me. They hurt my back in a way that made my brain stop being able to talk to my legs." "That's mean." It was very mean. Belle looked up at Valentina with those huge eyes that had gotten Chase out of more speeding tickets than he deserved. "Are you sad?" Valentina's expression shifted, became unguarded in a way Chase suspected was rare. "Yes, I'm very sad, and angry, and scared sometimes. My mommy died. I was sad and angry too." Belle said it matter-of-factly, the way kids do when they've processed grief into simple truth. "But Daddy says it's okay to feel bad things. He says feelings aren't good or bad. They just are." Valentina's eyes found Chase's over Belle's head. Something passed between them. Understanding. Recognition of shared pain. "Your daddy sounds very wise." "He is. He fixes things." Belle turned back to Chase. "Can you fix Valentina's legs?" The question hung in the air like a live wire. Chase opened his mouth, but Valentina spoke first. "Nobody can fix my legs, sweetheart. But your daddy can help me fix other things. Important things. That's why I'm going to stay with you for a little while, if that's okay with you." Belle considered this, with the same serious expression she used when deciding which stuffed animal should sleep on her pillow. "Will you be nice to my daddy?" "I'll be very nice to your daddy. I promise." "And you won't make him sad?" Valentina's voice went thick. "I will try my very best not to make him sad." Belle nodded decisively. "Okay, You can stay. But you have to share the bathroom with me, and I take a long time because I have a lot of hair." Chase almost laughed from the sheer relief. "Belle, go with Dr. Patel. I need to talk to Valentina for a minute." Belle took the doctor's hand without protest, and they disappeared into the hallway. The door clicked shut. Chase and Valentina sat in silence for a moment. "She's perfect," Valentina said finally. "You did good." "She liked you." "I wasn't sure she would." "Kids always know. They can smell bullshit from a mile away." Valentina wheeled herself to the window. "The security out there?" "That's Marcus. My bodyguard. One of 3 people from my old life I still trust. He's coming with us." "To the farmhouse?" "He'll stay in town, close enough to respond if needed, but far enough to not attract attention. Sarah Kim is handling the legal end, getting restraining orders, filing police reports, building a case." She turned back to face him. "And I'm handling the business end. From your kitchen table if I have to. They let you have internet access. Sarah smuggled me a laptop. Encrypted. Untraceable. I've been emailing board members all night. The ones I think might still be loyal." Her expression hardened. "Simone called the hospital twice yesterday. Left messages saying she's worried, that she wants to see me, make sure I'm okay." "You going to let her?" "Not a chance. Let her wonder. Let her worry. The longer she doesn't know what I'm planning, the better." Valentina's hands gripped the armrests. "She thinks I'm broken, defeated. She thinks paralysis makes me weak. Does it?" The question came out before Chase could stop it. Too direct. Too honest. But Valentina didn't flinch. "Ask me in a month. Right now, I don't know what I am except alive when I should be dead." She met his eyes. "Thanks to you." Dr. Patel returned with Belle, who was clutching a lollipop and chattering about the stickers the nurses had given her. Chase listened to his daughter's joy and watched Valentina watch her and realized this was actually happening. This impossible, dangerous, insane plan was real. The discharge took 3 hours. Paperwork, medical equipment, instructions from physical therapists and nurses about wound care and catheter maintenance and pressure sore prevention. Things Chase had never thought about. Things that were suddenly his responsibility. Marcus loaded everything into a black SUV with tinted windows. He was built like a linebacker, but moved with quiet efficiency. Said maybe 10 words the entire time. Chase liked him immediately. Belle fell asleep in her car seat on the drive home. Chase sat up front with Marcus, while Valentina sat in back, her wheelchair folded in the cargo area, her legs stretched across the seat. "Your farmhouse is 23 minutes from the nearest police station," Marcus said. His first complete sentence. "Nearest hospital is 37 minutes. Cell coverage is spotty. Internet is satellite only." "I know all that." "I'm not criticizing, I'm strategizing. Remote is good. Harder for Simone's people to surveil without being obvious. But remote also means longer response times if things go sideways." "You think they will go sideways?" Marcus glanced in the rearview mirror at Valentina. "I think Simone Cross doesn't leave loose ends. And right now Ms. Cross is the loosest end she's got." They pulled up to the farmhouse just after noon. Chase saw it through fresh eyes. Through Valentina's eyes. The sagging porch. The peeling paint. The front steps with the rotted third plank he kept meaning to fix. The house that had been in his family for 3 generations and was now barely standing. "Home sweet home," he said, trying for lightness and failing. Valentina looked at the house for a long moment. "It's perfect. It's falling apart. So am I. We'll match." Marcus carried Valentina inside while Chase got Belle in the wheelchair. The contractors had worked fast. There was a ramp now where the front steps used to be. Smooth. Professional. Wide enough for the chair. The front door had been widened. The hallway, too. The living room was transformed. Hospital bed. Side table. Medical equipment Chase didn't recognize. Marcus settled Valentina into the wheelchair and she rolled herself through the space slowly. Testing. Adjusting. her face unreadable. Bathroom. Chase led her down the hall. The doorway was wider here too. Grab bars on the walls, a shower chair, raised toilet seat. Everything white and clinical and wrong in his shabby farmhouse. Valentina was quiet. Too quiet. If it's not right, we can... It's perfect, she said again. And this time her voice cracked. I've been in million-dollar penthouses that felt like prisons. This feels like a home. Belle woke up and immediately wanted to show Valentina her room. Chase started to object, but Valentina just smiled and followed his daughter down the narrow hallway. The bedroom doorway hadn't been widened. Valentina had to angle the chair carefully to fit through. Belle's room was organized chaos. Stuffed animals, crayons, books, a mobile of paper butterflies that Chase's wife had made hanging from the ceiling. Belle pointed to each thing and explained its importance with the gravity of a museum curator. And this is Mr. Bunny. He's been with me since I was a baby. He's very soft. She placed the worn rabbit in Valentina's lap. Valentina held it like it was made of glass. He's perfect. Will he keep me company sometimes? Belle's face lit up. You can borrow him when you're sad. He's very good at making people feel better. Chase watched from the doorway as these two broken souls connected in a way he couldn't quite name. Belle with her motherless grief. Valentina with her sister's betrayal. Both of them navigating losses too big for words. Marcus appeared at his elbow. Perimeter check. I'll be back in an hour with groceries and supplies. Lock the doors. Don't open them unless you see my face first. After Marcus left, Chase made sandwiches because it was the only thing that felt normal. Belle sat next to Valentina at the kitchen table and talked non-stop about school and friends and the kitten she wanted for Christmas. Valentina listened with an attention that seemed to surprise both of them. Do you have kids? Belle asked around a mouthful of peanut butter. No, I never had time. That's sad. Kids are fun. You're very fun. I can see that already. Belle beamed. Then her expression turned serious. When your legs work again, will you leave? Valentina's sandwich stopped halfway to her mouth. She set it down carefully. I don't know if my legs will work again, Belle. The doctors say probably not. But maybe. A very small maybe. I'll pray for you. I pray for Daddy every night. I ask God to help him not be so tired all the time. Chase's throat tightened. He turned away and pretended to be very interested in washing dishes that were already clean. That's very kind, Valentina said softly. I would appreciate your prayers. After lunch, Belle wanted to play tea party. She set up her plastic tea set on the coffee table and insisted Valentina be the guest of honor. Chase watched from the kitchen as his daughter poured imaginary tea and chattered about imaginary cakes, while Valentina played along with more enthusiasm than he'd expected. His phone buzzed. Sarah Kim. The restraining order was denied. Judge said insufficient evidence of ongoing threat. Chase stepped onto the porch so Belle wouldn't hear. What does that mean? It means Simone can legally come within 100 feet of Valentina. It means we need to be extra careful. How is she? Playing tea party with my daughter. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Good. She needs that. Normal. Uncomplicated. Just keep her safe, Mr. Hale. Everything else we can handle. That night, after Belle went to bed, Chase helped Valentina transfer from the wheelchair to the hospital bed. It was awkward, intimate in a way that made them both uncomfortable. Her hands on his shoulders, his arms around her waist, the dead weight of her legs. I'm sorry, she said as he adjusted her position. For what? For making you do this. It's humiliating. It's not humiliating. It's just reality. He pulled the blanket up. You want anything water pain meds? No, just... She stopped. Started again. Will you stay? Just for a few minutes? I'm not ready to be alone yet. Chase pulled a chair close to the bed and sat. They were quiet for a while. The farmhouse creaked around them. Wind in the eaves, the furnace kicking on. Familiar sounds that suddenly felt like a different house entirely. "I called my CFO today," Valentina said finally. "David, the one who voted against me. He answered on the first ring, acted surprised to hear from me, said he'd been worried sick." "You believe him?" "No, but I played along. Asked how the company was doing, what projects were moving forward, who was handling my meetings." Her hands twisted the blanket. "He lied about everything, smooth as glass. Like I was just some investor checking in instead of the woman they tried to murder." "What did you say?" "I thanked him for holding down the fort. Told him I'd be back soon. Let him think I was clueless and helpless." She turned her head to look at Chase. "He has no idea I've been accessing the company servers all week, that I know about the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the money they've been funneling out while I've been gone. That's evidence for the police. The police will take months. I don't have months. By then, Cross Technologies will be stripped and sold, and Simone will be on a beach somewhere spending my inheritance." Her voice went cold. "No, I'm going to handle this my way. Which is, I'm going to destroy them. Legally, publicly, thoroughly. I'm going to take everything they tried to steal, and I'm going to make sure the whole world knows what they did." Chase leaned back in his chair. "That sounds dangerous. Living is dangerous. Hiding is dangerous. Doing nothing is the most dangerous option of all." She looked at him, really looked at him. "Do you think I'm crazy? I think you're angry. And I think you have every right to be." That's not an answer. Chase thought about his wife, about the cancer that ate her from the inside while doctors shrugged and said there was nothing they could do. About the rage that had consumed him afterward, the desire to burn down the hospital and the insurance company and God himself for taking the only good thing in his life. I think grief and rage make us do things we never thought we were capable of. Good things and bad things. And I think you're right at that edge trying to figure out which way to jump." Valentina's eyes glistened. "She was my sister. Not by blood, but by choice. We grew up together, shared secrets, fought over boys and clothes and stupid teenage drama. I thought..." Her voice broke. "I thought family meant something." "Sometimes blood isn't enough." "Then what is?" Chase thought about Belle sleeping in the next room, about the promises he made every day just by showing up and being present and choosing love over the easier option of giving up. Loyalty, trust, showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. He stood. "You should sleep. Tomorrow we start physical therapy." "Chase." She caught his hand as he turned to leave. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Thank you. For not judging me. For not telling me to let it go, or move on, or any of that useless advice people give when they're uncomfortable with your pain. I wouldn't dream of it. Your pain is yours. You get to do whatever you need to with it." He left her there in the dark and checked on Belle before going to his own room. His daughter was sprawled across her bed with Mr. Bunny clutched in one arm. The paper butterflies danced in the breeze from the heater. Chase lay in his own bed and stared at the ceiling and wondered what he'd gotten himself into. A paralyzed CEO planning corporate warfare from his farmhouse. A 6-year-old already attached to someone who might disappear in a month. A security guard patrolling the perimeter against threats Chase couldn't see or predict. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Motion sensor triggered on the east side. Probably deer, but I'm checking it out. Chase's heart kicked into overdrive. "You need backup. Stay inside. Lock the doors. I'll call when it's clear." 20 minutes passed like 20 hours. Chase stood at the kitchen window with a baseball bat he kept in the closet and watched the darkness. Finally, his phone rang. "Deer. 2 of them. But someone's been here recently. Tire tracks in the mud. Fresh ones. Simone's people? Could be. Or could be curious locals wondering why there's construction happening at the old Hale place. Either way, we're on their radar now. Marcus paused. This is going to get worse before it gets better. You sure you're ready for that? Chase looked back toward the living room where Valentina slept, thought about her broken legs and her fierce determination and the way she'd held Mr. Bunny like he was precious. No, he said honestly, but I'm doing it anyway. Good. That's the only way to do hard things, scared and committed. Marcus hung up. Chase locked the doors and checked the windows and finally let himself relax. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more therapy, more danger, more moments of collision between his simple life and Valentina's complicated war. But tonight, everyone under his roof was safe, fed, breathing. Sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that was everything. He fell asleep thinking about tire tracks and butterflies, and the way Valentina had looked at Belle during tea party like she was witnessing something holy she'd never thought to want for herself. Maybe they were all broken here. Maybe they were all learning how to be whole again. Or maybe they were just three people and a bodyguard making the best of impossible circumstances in a falling-down farmhouse on County Road 47. Either way, Chase thought as sleep finally took him, it felt like the start of something. Not an ending or an escape, but a beginning, wrapped in danger and hope, and the stubborn refusal to let betrayal and grief win. Outside, Marcus walked the perimeter one more time before settling into his car for the night shift. Inside, Belle dreamed of kittens, and Valentina dreamed of boardrooms and revenge, and Chase dreamed of nothing at all. The fog rolled in off the fields. The house creaked and settled. And for one night at least, everyone survived to see morning. That would have to be enough. The physical therapist arrived at 7 the next morning. Her name was Rita, and she had the no-nonsense energy of someone who'd seen every excuse and bought none of them. She took one look at Valentina in the hospital bed and clapped her hands together. Up! We're starting now! Valentina blinked sleep from her eyes. I just woke up. Perfect timing. Your muscles are loosest in the morning. Come on, transfer to the chair. Show me what you've got. Chase watched from the kitchen as Valentina struggled through the transfer. Her upper body was strong, but without her legs to help, every movement was a negotiation with gravity and physics. Sweat broke out on her forehead. Her jaw clenched, but she made it into the wheelchair without help. Rita nodded approval. Good. Now wheel yourself to the kitchen. I can do that. Then do it. The hallway was wider now, but still tight. Valentina had to angle the chair carefully to avoid scraping the walls. Chase moved to help, and Rita shot him a look that froze him in place. She needs to learn her new body. You hovering won't help. Valentina made it to the kitchen in under a minute. Her breathing was heavy, but her expression was determined. Belle wandered out in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Why is everyone yelling? We're not yelling, honey. We're exercising. Valentina's voice was strained. It sounds like yelling. Rita laughed. Smart kid. Okay, Ms. Cross. Next exercise. Wheel yourself outside, down the ramp, to the mailbox and back. It's freezing outside. Then wheel fast. Chase grabbed Valentina's jacket from the hook and held it out. She shrugged into it with visible frustration. He wanted to say something encouraging, but Rita's warning look kept him silent. The ramp was steeper than it looked from inside. Valentina struggled at first, her arms shaking as she pushed the wheels. Halfway down, she stopped breathing hard. I can't. Yes, you can. Rita stood at the bottom with her arms crossed. Your arms are perfectly functional. Your core is strong. The only thing stopping you is fear. I'm not afraid. You're terrified. I can see it from here. You're afraid that if you can't do this one simple thing, then you can't do anything. That this chair is your whole life now. Rita's voice softened. But here's the truth. The chair is just a tool, like shoes or glasses or a car. It doesn't define you unless you let it. Valentina's hands gripped the wheels so hard her knuckles went white. Then she pushed. Hard. The chair rolled forward and down. She picked up speed. Too much speed. Chase started forward, but Rita grabbed his arm. Let her learn. Valentina hit the bottom of the ramp, going fast enough that the front wheels lifted slightly. She gasped and grabbed the brake. The chair stopped hard. She sat there for a moment, breathing like she'd run a marathon. Then she started laughing. Not polite laughter. Real, genuine, slightly hysterical laughter that made Belle giggle, and Chase smiled despite his pounding heart. I almost flipped it, Valentina called up. But you didn't, Rita called back. Now get to the mailbox. The driveway was gravel, harder to navigate. Valentina's wheels caught and slipped. She adjusted, learned, adapted. By the time she reached the mailbox, her arms were shaking, but her face was flushed with something that looked like triumph. Now back. The return trip was slower. The ramp going up was brutal. Valentina made it 3 feet before her arms gave out. She rolled backward. Chase stepped forward again, and again Rita stopped him. Ms. Cross, you have 2 options. Try again, or sit in the cold until you decide to try again. I hate you right now. Good. Hate is energy. Use it. Valentina tried again, made it 5 feet this time. Her breath came in gasps. Sweat dripped down her temples despite the cold. Belle appeared at the top of the ramp. You can do it, Valentina. You're so strong. Something in Valentina's expression shifted. She pushed again. 6 feet. 7. The top of the ramp was right there. Her arms were trembling so badly Chase could see it from 10 feet away. One more push and she was up. Over the lip. Onto the porch. She collapsed back in the chair, chest heaving. Belle threw her arms around Valentina's neck. You did it. Valentina's arms came up slowly and wrapped around Belle. Over his daughter's head, her eyes met Chase's. They were wet. Not quite crying, but close. I did it, she whispered. Rita smiled for the first time all morning. You did. Now do it again. 5 more times. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? Valentina did it 4 more times. The 5th time, she only made it halfway up before her arms gave out completely. Rita finally relented and let Chase help her inside. He half carried her to the hospital bed where she collapsed face down. I can't feel my arms. That's good, Rita said cheerfully. Means you worked hard. Tomorrow we add weights. After Rita left, Chase made breakfast while Valentina dozed and Belle got ready for school. Marcus drove Belle because Chase didn't want to leave Valentina alone. His daughter waved from the SUV window and blew kisses until they turned the corner. The house felt too quiet without her. Chase cleaned up the breakfast dishes and answered emails about repair jobs he'd have to turn down. His phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Chase Hale? Who's asking? My name is Simone Cross. I believe you're caring for my sister. Chase's blood went cold. He walked into his bedroom and closed the door before answering. How did you get this number? That's not important. What's important is that Valentina is clearly not well. She needs professional medical care. A facility with trained staff. She has trained staff. Dr. Patel checks on her every other day. Dr. Patel is a trauma surgeon, not a rehabilitation specialist. What Valentina needs is to be somewhere she feels safe, which apparently isn't anywhere near you. Simone's voice went hard. I don't know what lies she's told you, Mr. Hale, but my sister is mentally unstable. She has been for years. This paranoia, these accusations, they're symptoms of a much deeper problem. She seems pretty clear-headed to me. Of course she does. She's very good at manipulation. It's how she's run Cross Technologies into the ground while alienating everyone who ever tried to help her. Simone paused. I'm not your enemy, Mr. Hale. I'm trying to help my sister before she hurts herself or someone else. By beating her and leaving her in a ditch. I have no idea what you're talking about. When I last saw Valentina, she was fine. Upset about some business decisions, but physically fine. Whatever happened after that had nothing to do with me. The police seem to think differently. The police are investigating several theories, including the possibility that Valentina staged this whole thing for sympathy, or that she was injured in an accident and is now using it as leverage in our family dispute. Simone's tone shifted, became almost gentle. Look, I know you're just trying to help, but you're in over your head. Valentina is dangerous when she doesn't get her way. Please, for your daughter's sake, reconsider this arrangement. Chase hung up. His hands shook as he set the phone down. The mention of Belle felt like a threat wrapped in concern. A reminder that Simone knew about his daughter, knew where they lived, knew everything. He walked back to the living room. Valentina was awake, staring at the ceiling. She called you, Valentina said. Not a question. How did you know? Because that's what she does. Charm. Manipulate. Plant seeds of doubt. Valentina turned her head to look at him. What did she say? That you're mentally unstable. That you staged this. That I should put you in a facility for Belle's safety. Do you believe her? Chase pulled a chair close to the bed and sat. I believe you've got a broken back and scars from rope burns on your wrists. I believe someone beat you bad enough to paralyze you. And I believe your sister is worried because you're not dead. Valentina's eyes closed. She mentioned Belle specifically. Yes. Then we need to be more careful. Simone doesn't make idle threats. Marcus already has security cameras going up tomorrow, motion sensors, better locks. That's not enough. Valentina's jaw set. I need to move faster. Take the fight to her before she brings it here. How? Board meeting, 2 weeks from now. I'm calling an emergency session. Full attendance required. She looked at Chase. And I'm going to need your help getting there. Over the next 10 days, the farmhouse transformed into something between a home and a war room. Valentina spent hours on her laptop building cases and gathering evidence. She made calls at all hours, some angry, some calculated, all of them sharp as broken glass. Chase built a desk for her in the living room, custom height for the wheelchair. Belle decorated it with stickers and drawings. Mr. Bunny took up permanent residence on one corner. Physical therapy continued every morning. Rita was relentless. Valentina cursed her daily but kept showing up, kept pushing. The ramp got easier. She could navigate the whole house now without help, could transfer from chair to bed and back without Chase's assistance. Her upper body got stronger, defined, but her legs stayed stubbornly limp. Dead weight that had to be positioned and moved and cared for like they belonged to someone else. One night, Chase heard crying from the living room. He found Valentina on the floor next to the wheelchair, her legs twisted underneath her. I fell. Her voice was thick with humiliation. Tried to transfer and just fell. Chase knelt beside her. Let me help. I don't want help. I want legs that work. I want to stand up and walk away from this nightmare. She pounded her fists against her thighs. No response. No feeling. I want my life back. I know. No, you don't. You have no idea what it's like to be trapped in a body that won't do what you tell it to. Tears streamed down her face. I built an empire. I negotiated billion-dollar deals, and now I can't even get from a bed to a chair without falling on my face. Chase sat down on the floor beside her. Not touching, just present. You're right. I don't know what that's like, but I know what it's like to lose everything, to wake up and realize the life you planned is gone and you have to build something new from pieces you didn't choose. Valentina wiped her eyes roughly. How did you do it? After your wife died, how did you keep going? Belle. She needed me to keep going, so I did. Some days that was the only reason. He looked at Valentina. But I also had to grieve first. Had to let myself be angry and sad and lost before I could start building again. I don't have time to grieve. Simone's already moving pieces on the board. If I don't act now, then you act from a place of rage and pain, and you make mistakes. Chase's voice was gentle. You don't have to be strong every second. Not here. Not with me and Belle. Something in Valentina broke. She leaned against Chase's shoulder and sobbed. Real ugly gasping sobs that shook her whole body. He put his arm around her and let her cry. Didn't try to fix it or minimize it. Just held her, while she grieved everything she'd lost. When the tears finally stopped, they sat in silence. The house creaked around them. Outside, Marcus's car idled in the driveway. Thank you, Valentina said finally, for not trying to make it better. Can't make it better. Can only make it not quite as lonely. She pulled back and looked at him. Her face was blotchy and swollen, but her eyes were clear. Is that what this is? Shared loneliness? Maybe. I don't know what to call it yet. I think... She stopped. Started again. I think I'm falling for you. Which is completely insane because my life is a disaster and I'm in a wheelchair and you're just being kind. Chase's heart kicked hard. What if I'm falling for you too? Is that insane? Completely. Good. Then we're both crazy. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull back, to say no, to laugh it off, but she didn't. Her hand came up to his cheek and she kissed him, soft, tentative, like she was afraid he might disappear. When they broke apart, she was smiling. That was, yeah. We should probably, yeah. But neither of them moved. They sat on the floor together until Chase's back started complaining and he finally helped her back into the chair. This time when their hands touched, it felt different. Charged. Full of possibility and terror in equal measure. The next morning, Belle asked why Valentina was smiling so much. Valentina said she'd had a good dream. Belle accepted this and went back to her cereal. Chase and Valentina's eyes met across the kitchen table, and something warm and fragile passed between them. Marcus noticed. Of course he noticed. He cornered Chase while Valentina was in therapy. This is complicated. I know. She's still technically your employer. Power dynamics are problematic. I know that too. Marcus studied him. You love her. I don't know. Maybe. It's too soon to call it that. But you could. Love her. Chase thought about Valentina's determination, her vulnerability, the way she listened to Belle like every word mattered, the way she'd cried on his shoulder and trusted him with her breaking. Yeah, I could. Then be careful, not just with her heart, but with Belle's. Kids get attached fast. Belle's already attached. Exactly. So when this ends, and it will end one way or another, you're not just managing your own feelings. You're managing hers too. Marcus's expression softened. I've known Ms. Cross for 8 years. She's brilliant and driven and absolutely ruthless when she needs to be. But she's also been alone her whole life. Everyone wants something from her. Money, access, power. You're the first person I've seen her with who wants nothing. That's not true. I want her safe. That's different. That's caring. She's not used to caring without strings attached. Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. Don't break her, man. She's been broken enough. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday at 2. Valentina spent the week before preparing, printing documents, rehearsing statements. Her laptop never closed. Her phone never stopped ringing. Thursday night, she sat at her desk with her head in her hands. Chase brought her tea and waited. I'm scared, she said finally. Of the meeting. Of failing. Of facing them and being too weak. Too broken. Of them looking at me in this chair and seeing exactly what Simone wants them to see. Someone incompetent. Someone finished. Chase knelt beside the wheelchair. They're going to see someone who survived a murder attempt and showed up anyway. Someone who refused to quit even when quitting would have been easier. That's not weakness. That's the opposite. What if my evidence isn't enough? Then we find more evidence. We keep fighting. We don't stop until Simone is the one who's finished. Valentina touched his face. When did you become my biggest champion? Probably around the time you let Belle put butterfly stickers on your wheelchair. She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound filled the quiet farmhouse like light. Friday morning dawned cold and clear. Marcus arrived early with a suit for Valentina. Professional. Powerful. Navy blue with a silk blouse that hid most of her remaining bruises. Belle helped with makeup, applying it with the careful concentration of a surgeon. You need to look pretty so those mean people know you're not scared. I am scared, sweetheart. That's okay. Daddy says brave people are scared. They just do it anyway. Valentina's eyes met Chase's over Belle's head. Your daddy is very wise. They left at noon. Marcus drove. Chase sat in back with Valentina. She held his hand so tight his fingers went numb, but he didn't complain. The Cross. Technology's building was downtown Chicago. Glass and steel and money. The parking garage had accessible spaces, but they were still a long elevator ride and 2 hallways from the boardroom. Board members arrived in expensive cars wearing expensive suits. They saw Valentina in her wheelchair and their expressions shifted. Shock. Pity. In some cases, poorly hidden satisfaction. David, the CFO, approached with his hand extended and his face carefully neutral. Valentina, we're so glad you could make it. We've all been worried sick. I bet you have. She didn't take his hand, just wheeled past him toward the boardroom. Let's get started. The boardroom was ridiculous. 30 feet of mahogany table, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Valentina wheeled to the head of the table where her chair used to be. Someone had left a regular chair there. She stared at it. Remove it. I'm sorry. David looked confused. The chair. Remove it. I won't be needing it. David scrambled to move it. Valentina took her place at the head of the table in her wheelchair. Everyone else sat. 12 board members, all of them watching her with varying degrees of skepticism and concern. Simone arrived last. She looked perfect. Tailored suit, perfect makeup. She gasped when she saw Valentina. Oh my God. Val, I came as soon as I heard. Are you okay? What happened? Valentina's expression could have frozen fire. Sit down, Simone. We have a lot to discuss. Simone sat. The room went silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic 30 floors below. Valentina pressed a button on her laptop and the screen behind her lit up with financial records, numbers, dates, transaction histories that made several board members shift uncomfortably in their seats. On October 4th at approximately 2 in the morning, I was removed from my wheelchair and beaten until my spine fractured at the T6 vertebra. I was paralyzed, left in a roadside ditch to die. Valentina's voice was steady, clinical, like she was discussing quarterly earnings instead of attempted murder. The police investigation is ongoing, but I'm not here to talk about criminal charges. I'm here to talk about the systematic theft of company assets that occurred during my absence. David cleared his throat. Valentina, we understand you've been through trauma. Perhaps this meeting should wait until you've had more time to recover and— Shut up, David. Valentina clicked to the next slide. On October 5th, 12 hours after my attack, you transferred $8 million from the R&D account to a shell company in the Cayman Islands. Same shell company that's been receiving monthly deposits for the past 18 months. Total theft, $47 million. The room erupted, voices talking over each other, denials, accusations. Valentina let it go for 30 seconds, then held up her hand. Everyone went quiet. I have documentation of every transaction, every email, every phone call. Sarah Kim has already filed charges with the SEC and the FBI. But I'm giving you a choice. She looked around the table. Anyone involved in the theft or the conspiracy to remove me from leadership can resign today. Sign over your shares. Walk away. Or you can stay and fight this in court where everything becomes public record. Simone leaned forward. Her expression was perfect concern. Val, honey, this is the paranoia the doctors warned us about. You've been through terrible trauma. Your judgment is compromised. Nobody here stole anything. These transactions were approved by you, using a forged signature on corporate documents. I have the originals. I also have security footage of you entering my office at midnight 3 weeks before the attack. Want to guess what you were looking for? Simone's perfect mask slipped, just for a second, but everyone saw it. You have no proof of any wrongdoing. These accusations are, I have your texts. Valentina clicked again. Messages filled the screen. To Marcus Reeves, your husband, my CFO, planning my removal, discussing the best way to make it look like an accident. Another click. I have bank records showing payments to 2 men with extensive criminal histories. Both men are now missing. Convenient. David stood up so fast his chair fell backward. I won't sit here and listen to this. Valentina, you're clearly unwell. Someone needs to call. Sit down. Valentina's voice cracked like a whip. You don't get to walk out. Not yet. Because here's what's going to happen. David, you're fired. Effective immediately. Security is waiting outside to escort you from the building. Simone, you're removed from the board. Your shares revert to me per the family trust agreement that states any board member convicted of crimes against the company forfeits their position. I haven't been convicted of anything, Simone said, but her voice shook. Not yet. But you will be. And everyone in this room knows it. Valentina looked around the table. Anyone else involved in this theft has 5 minutes to resign. After that, the FBI gets everything, and you deal with federal charges instead of just losing your job. 3 board members stood up immediately. They dropped folders on the table and walked out without a word. A 4th followed after a moment's hesitation. That left 8. 8 people who'd either been loyal or smart enough to stay out of Simone's schemes. Simone stood. You can't do this. I'm family. You burned my wheelchair and watched me get beaten. You are not family. You're a thief and a would-be murderer, and I want you out of my building in the next 60 seconds, or I'm calling the police right now. This isn't over. Simone's voice was pure venom. You think you won. You're in a wheelchair, Valentina. You're broken. You can't run this company from a hospital bed or wherever you're hiding. The board will vote you out within a month. The board just voted. Valentina gestured to the 8 remaining members. All in favor of me retaining my position as CEO. 8 hands went up. No hesitation. Simone's face went white, then red. You'll regret this. All of you. When this company collapses because she can't handle the pressure when investors pull out because they don't trust a paralyzed CEO? Get out. Valentina's voice was ice. Now, before I have Marcus throw you out. Simone grabbed her bag and stormed toward the door. She stopped when she reached Valentina's wheelchair, leaned down, whispered something Chase couldn't hear from his position by the wall. Valentina's expression didn't change. Empty threats from an empty person. Goodbye, Simone. After Simone left, the remaining board members started talking at once. Questions about the investigation, about company stability, about what happens next. Valentina answered each one with the same focused intensity she'd shown throughout the meeting. Like the confrontation with her sister had cost her nothing. But Chase saw her hands. The way they gripped the armrests. The slight tremor in her fingers. She was holding on by sheer will and nothing else. The meeting lasted another hour. Plans were made. Positions filled. By the time everyone left, Valentina had restructured her entire leadership team and set up safeguards to prevent future theft. She was brilliant, commanding, everything Chase imagined a CEO should be. When the last board member left and the door closed, Valentina slumped in her chair like someone had cut her strings. I need to get out of here. Chase pushed her wheelchair to the elevator. Marcus met them in the parking garage. They loaded up and drove in silence. Valentina stared out the window at the city passing by. Her city. Her empire. Saved for now, but at what cost? They were 20 minutes outside Chicago when Valentina finally spoke. She said Belle's name. At the end, Simone whispered that it would be a shame if something happened to Belle, that 6-year-olds are so fragile. Chase's blood turned to ice. She threatened my daughter. She threatened all of us. Simone doesn't lose gracefully. Valentina turned to face him. I'm so sorry. I should never have brought this to your door. I should have found somewhere else. Someone else. Stop. Chase took her hand. We're in this together now. You, me, Belle. We'll figure it out. How do we protect Belle from someone like Simone, who has money and connections, and absolutely nothing to lose now? Marcus spoke from the front seat. We move, all of us, somewhere Simone doesn't know about. Somewhere we can control access and monitor threats. Where? Valentina's voice was thick with exhaustion. I have a place. Montana. Middle of nowhere. 500 acres. Off-grid. Bought it years ago as a bug-out location. Marcus glanced in the rearview mirror. We can be there in 2 days if we leave tonight. Montana Belle has school. Chase has work. We can't just uproot everything because my psychotic sister made a threat. Yes, we can. Chase squeezed her hand. Belle's safety comes first. Everything else figures itself out after that. They drove straight to the farmhouse. Belle was waiting with Mrs. Chen on the porch. She ran to the car when it pulled up. Did you win? Did you beat the bad guys? Valentina managed to smile. I beat some of them, sweetheart. But we have to go away for a little while. Is that okay with you? Belle's face fell. Away? Where? Montana. To a big house on a big piece of land where we can have horses and chickens and all the space you could want. What about my school and my friends? Chase knelt down. We'll find a new school, make new friends, and Mrs. Chen can come visit whenever she wants. Right, Mrs. Chen? Mrs. Chen dabbed at her eyes. Of course. I'll miss you both terribly, but I understand. Safety first. They packed that night. Everything that mattered fit into 3 suitcases and 4 cardboard boxes. Belle cried while packing her stuffed animals. Valentina worked on her laptop making arrangements, transferring company operations to remote work, setting up secure communications. Chase walked through the farmhouse one last time. 3 generations of Hales had lived here. His grandfather had built the addition. His father had planted the oak tree in the yard. His wife had painted Belle's room yellow because yellow was happy and babies should wake up happy. Now he was leaving it behind for a woman he'd known 3 weeks and a daughter who deserved to grow up safe. Marcus found him standing in the empty living room. Second thoughts. About 100 of them. But you're still going. Yeah, I'm still going, Bill. Chase turned to face him. Is it crazy? All of this, Gia, completely. But crazy is relative. You saved her life. She's saving yours in a different way. Sometimes that's how it works. They left before dawn. Marcus drove one vehicle with most of the supplies. Chase drove a rental van with Valentina, Belle, and everything else. Belle fell asleep 20 minutes into the drive, her head on Mr. Bunny. Valentina worked on her laptop until the battery died, then finally closed it and stared out the window. Tell me about Montana. Marcus had given Chase a folder with photos and information. It's remote. The nearest town is 40 minutes away. Population 500. The house is new. Built it himself over the past 2 years. Solar power, well water, big windows facing the mountains. Sounds like paradise. Or prison. Depends on your perspective. Right now, paradise sounds good. She reached over and took his hand. Thank you. For this. For all of it. Thank me when we're all safe and Simone is in jail. And if that never happens, if she gets away with it. Chase thought about that. Then we build a life anyway, because that's what survivors do. We keep building even when the world tries to tear us down. They drove for 16 hours that first day, stopped at a roadside motel somewhere in South Dakota. 2 rooms, Marcus in one, Chase, Valentina, and Belle in the other. Belle crashed immediately. Chase helped Valentina transfer from the wheelchair to the bed, then collapsed in the chair by the window. "You should sleep," Valentina said. "I will. Just need a minute." "Chase." She waited until he looked at her. "What did Simone's threat change between us, I mean? Does it change how you feel?" He thought about that question, about fear and anger, and the way his chest tightened every time he thought about someone hurting Belle. But underneath all that was something else, something that had been growing since that first morning in the hospital. "It makes me more sure, about you, about us, because anyone who threatens my daughter clearly sees you as enough of a threat to be worth threatening over, which means you're winning, and I want to be on the winning side." Valentina laughed softly. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me, which probably says something terrible about my past relationships. Or something great about this one." He moved to the bed and kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, she was smiling. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we finish this drive and start figuring out what normal looks like for 3 broken people in the middle of nowhere." Chase slept in the chair, not comfortable but close enough to Valentina and Belle that he'd hear if anything went wrong. He woke every hour, checked the locks, looked out the window at the empty parking lot. Marcus's room stayed dark, but Chase knew he wasn't sleeping either. Guards never really slept. They just waited. Morning came gray and cold. They ate breakfast at a truck stop and got back on the road. Belle was quieter today. The reality of leaving home was settling in. Valentina tried to engage her with games and stories, but Belle just stared out the window and held Mr. Bunny tight. "She'll adjust," Valentina said quietly. "Kids are resilient." "I know. Doesn't make it easier to watch." They crossed into Montana late afternoon. The landscape changed. Flatter, wider, sky that went on forever, mountains in the distance like teeth. The town Marcus mentioned was barely a town at all. 1 gas station, 1 diner, 1 store that sold everything from groceries to ammunition. Marcus turned off the highway onto a dirt road. They drove for 30 minutes through open range. No houses, no people. Just land and sky and the occasional deer watching from a hillside. The house appeared suddenly, modern, wood and glass, solar panels on the roof, a barn behind it, corrals. Everything neat and well-maintained, but clearly empty. "Welcome to the end of the world," Marcus said. Belle perked up when she saw the barn. "Can we get horses?" "Maybe, if we're staying long enough." Chase looked at Valentina. She was staring at the house like she couldn't quite believe it was real. "It's perfect," she whispered. They unloaded. Marcus showed them around. The house had been designed with accessibility in mind. Wide doorways, open floor plan, a bedroom on the first floor with an attached bathroom that had a roll-in shower and grab bars. Marcus had planned for this, had known someday he might need to disappear, and had built accordingly. "Stay as long as you need," Marcus said. "I'll be nearby. There's a cabin on the north end of the property, close enough to respond but far enough to give you privacy." After Marcus left, the 3 of them stood in the big living room with the wall of windows showing mountains and sky and endless space. Belle pressed her face to the glass. "It's so big." "It is," Valentina agreed. "Are we safe here?" Valentina and Chase exchanged glances. "We're safer," Chase said finally. "And we're together. That's what matters." They spent the evening getting settled. Belle claimed a bedroom upstairs with windows facing the mountains. Chase helped Valentina arrange her medical equipment and set up a workspace. The internet was satellite but fast enough for her needs. She logged into the company servers and checked on things, sent emails, made calls. Still running her empire from a wheelchair in the middle of Montana. Dinner was simple, pasta and sauce from cans. They ate at the table, and Belle told them about a dream she'd had. Something about flying over the mountains on a giant butterfly. Valentina listened, like it was the most important story she'd ever heard. After Belle went to bed, Chase and Valentina sat on the porch wrapped in blankets. The stars were impossible. More stars than darkness. The kind of sky that made you understand how small you were. "I could get used to this," Valentina said. "Montana. Peace. Quiet. Not looking over my shoulder every 5 seconds." She turned to face him. "When I was in that ditch when you found me, I thought that was it. Game over. Everything I'd built meant nothing because I was going to die alone in the mud. But you didn't." "No, I didn't, because you wouldn't let me." Her voice caught. "You gave me a second chance. At life, at revenge, at finding something worth more than money or power or any of it." "What's that?" "This. You, Belle. A family I didn't know I wanted until I had it." She took his hand. "I love you. I know it's too soon, and I know I'm a mess, and I know my life is complicated beyond belief. But I love you anyway." Chase's heart did something complicated in his chest. Fear and joy and terror all mixed together. "I love you too. Have for a while now. Kept trying to talk myself out of it because loving someone with this much danger attached seemed stupid." "Is it stupid?" "Probably, but I'm doing it anyway." They kissed under stars that had watched this land for millions of years. Two broken people learning to be whole, learning to trust that maybe broken wasn't the end. Maybe it was just the beginning of something different. The next few weeks passed in a blur of routine and adjustment. Belle started online school. Hated it at first, then made friends with a girl from Texas in her virtual class. They video called daily and plotted elaborate stories involving dragons and princesses. Valentina ran cross technologies from the dining room table, board meetings via video conference, strategy sessions, product launches. She was everywhere and nowhere, present in Chicago without being physically present. Chase fixed things around the property, repaired fence lines, cleaned the barn, made plans for a garden in the spring. It felt good to work with his hands again, to build instead of just survive. Rita came once a week, flew in from Seattle, put Valentina through grueling therapy sessions that left her exhausted and frustrated. Her upper body got stronger. She could transfer without help now, could navigate the house and property with ease. But her legs stayed quiet, unresponsive, no feeling, no movement. One afternoon, Chase found her in the barn crying, just sitting in her wheelchair in an empty stall with tears streaming down her face. "Hey, talk to me." "I thought I'd made peace with it. The paralysis. I thought I could accept it and move on." She wiped her eyes roughly. "But I haven't. I hate this chair. I hate that I'll never walk again, never run, never stand next to you without looking up. I hate all of it." Chase sat on a hay bale beside her. "That's allowed. Hate is allowed. But it's not productive. Hating doesn't change anything." "No, but denying the hate doesn't help either. You're allowed to grieve what you lost even while you're building something new." "How did you do it?" "After your wife died. How did you stop being angry?" "I didn't. I'm still angry sometimes. At cancer. At the universe. At God if I believed in one. But I also learned that grief doesn't have an expiration date. Some days are better. Some days are worse. You just keep showing up, and eventually the good days outnumber the bad ones." Valentina reached for his hand. "What if the good days never outnumber the bad ones? Then we make them good anyway, by force if necessary, by choosing joy, even when joy feels impossible." He squeezed her hand. "You're not alone in this. You've got me. You've got Belle. You've got Marcus and Rita and a whole company full of people who need you." "I don't want to be needed. I want to be wanted." "Then you're in luck. Because I want you. Chair and all. Broken legs and corporate drama and sister who wants you dead. All of it. I want all of it because it's you." She pulled him down and kissed him hard. Desperate. Like she was trying to convince herself he was real. When they broke apart, she was half laughing, half crying. "We're a disaster. You know that, right? Best kind of disaster." They spent that night planning. Real plans for a real future. Moving the company headquarters to a satellite office in Billings. Belle going to actual school in the fall. Maybe adopting a dog. Maybe buying horses like Belle wanted. Maybe building something permanent instead of just surviving day to day. 3 months after they arrived in Montana, Sarah Kim called with news. Simone had been arrested. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. Attempted murder. The evidence was overwhelming. She'd be lucky to see freedom before she was 70. Valentina took the call on the porch. Chase watched through the window as her expression shifted. Relief. Vindication. And underneath it all, grief for the sister she'd loved who'd betrayed her so completely. When she came back inside, she was crying. It's over. She's going to prison. Chase pulled her close. How do you feel? Empty. Like I won, but the victory cost more than the loss would have. She pulled back to look at him. Is that normal? I think so. Revenge doesn't fill holes. It just makes different ones. Belle appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. Why is everyone sad? I thought the bad lady going to jail was good. Valentina smiled through tears. It is good, sweetheart. I'm just sad because she was my sister once, before she became bad. Belle came down and climbed into Valentina's lap. It's okay to be sad about people changing. My teacher said people are complicated. Your teacher is very smart. They sat together on the couch. 3 people who'd found each other through tragedy and built something that looked almost like a family. Not perfect, not uncomplicated, but real. That night after Belle was asleep, Chase found Valentina at her desk, going through company reports. He turned her wheelchair around to face him. Marry me. She blinked. What? Marry me. Not because I saved you, or because we're hiding in Montana, or because Belle needs stability. Marry me because I love you and I want to build a life with you. A real one. With school plays and holidays and fighting about whose turn it is to do dishes. Chase, I'm paralyzed. I can't give you. You can give me you. That's all I want. You and your brilliant mind and your stubborn heart. And yes, even the wheelchair because it's part of who you are now. He knelt in front of her. I don't have a ring. I don't have a plan. All I have is the certainty that you're it for me. So what do you say? Valentina's hands came up to frame his face. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. But on one condition. Name it. We tell Belle together. She's part of this too. They told her the next morning at breakfast. Belle screamed and jumped up and down and demanded to be flower girl, and asked if Valentina would officially be her mom now. Valentina said if that was okay with Belle. Belle said it was more than okay. It was perfect. Marcus flew in for a weekend visit and found them planning a wedding. Small, just them and a judge, and maybe Rita if she could make it. Nothing fancy, just a promise made and kept. You're really doing this, Marcus said. We really are, Valentina confirmed. Good. You deserve happiness, both of you. He paused. The board wants to know when you're coming back to Chicago. There's talk about expanding to Europe, new partnerships. They need you there. Valentina looked around the Montana house, at the mountains through the window, at Belle coloring at the kitchen table, at Chase fixing the coffee maker that had broken that morning. I'm not going back, not permanently. We're staying here. The company can function remotely. If the board doesn't like it, they can replace me. They won't replace you. You just took down a conspiracy and saved the company. You're untouchable right now. Then they'll adjust. Because this is my life now, here, with them. Marcus smiled. Good for you. Really. They got married on a Tuesday afternoon in May. The judge came to the house. Rita stood as witness, along with Marcus. Belle wore her Sunday dress and carried a bouquet of wildflowers she'd picked that morning. Valentina wore white, simple, elegant, beautiful. Chase wore his only suit. The same one he'd worn to his first wife's funeral. He'd worried it was bad luck, but Valentina said it was perfect. Full circle. Proof that endings could become beginnings if you were brave enough to keep going. When the judge pronounced them married, Chase kissed his wife, and Belle cheered, and Marcus took photos on his phone. It was simple and perfect, and exactly what they all needed. That night, after Belle went to bed, Chase and Valentina sat on the porch, wrapped in each other's arms. The stars were out. The mountains were dark shapes against the sky. Somewhere an owl called. "You know what the best part is," Valentina said. "What? I don't miss my legs. Not right now. Not when I have this. You, Belle. This life we built from nothing." She turned to look at him. "You didn't save me that morning on the road. You gave me a reason to save myself." "I think we saved each other." "Yeah, I think we did." 6 months later, Belle started 3rd grade at the small school in town. She made friends quickly, brought them home to meet her parents and show off the barn and the horses they'd finally gotten. 2 of them. Gentle and patient and perfect for a little girl learning to ride. Valentina ran Cross Technologies from Montana with occasional trips to Chicago when necessary. The company thrived. New products launched. Stock prices climbed. She proved that location didn't matter. Vision mattered. Determination mattered. Chase started a handyman business serving the surrounding ranches. Word spread that he was reliable and fair. Work came steadily. Enough to contribute. Enough to matter. Enough to prove he wasn't just Valentina's charity case, but a partner in every sense. On the anniversary of the day he found her in that ditch, they drove back to County Road 47. Not to the exact spot. Neither of them could handle that. But close enough. They stood at the roadside, Chase on his feet, and Valentina in her chair, and looked at the place where everything had changed. "Thank you," Valentina said, "for not walking past. For caring about a stranger when you had every reason not to. Thank you for trusting me. For letting me be part of your fight." Belle tugged on Chase's sleeve. "Can we go home now? This place is creepy." They laughed and turned back to the car. Back to Montana. Back to the life they'd built together. Not perfect. Not without struggles. But theirs. The wheelchair stayed. The paralysis stayed. But so did everything else. The love. The family. The second chance that neither of them had seen coming, but both of them had fought like hell to keep. Chase looked at Valentina in the rearview mirror as he drove. She was working on her laptop, still running her empire, still fighting her battles, still refusing to let her broken body define her. Belle was singing along to the radio, off-key and joyful. A little girl who'd lost her mother and gained a family. And Chase was just driving, hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, heart full of a gratitude so deep it hurt. "You didn't save me," Valentina had said. "You saw me." But the truth was simpler and more complicated than that. They'd saved each other, seen each other, chosen each other when everything else said to walk away. The fog was gone now. The road was clear. And ahead of them stretched years of mornings and battles and joy and sorrow and all the messy, beautiful reality of choosing love even when love was the hardest possible choice. Chase Hale had walked down County Road 47, looking for $17 and a day's work. He'd found a family instead, and that he thought, as Montana opened up before them wide and wild and home, was the best trade he'd ever made.